I pray that I would never forget that my identity is never the work of my hands, that it is not created. I do not create my identity. I do not create myself. The Lord who made me, knows me, names me, and loves me, and I am secure with him. We used to talk about how we wanted to teach our kids to read, to respect authority, to esteem others as better than themselves, to admit wrongdoing, and to be diligent in all things. To read, right? Respect authority, esteem others as better than yourself, admit wrongdoing, and be diligent in all things. Those are good things. We wanted them to be people of character. But doesn't that begin with telling the truth? I don't have any character. I am flawed, fatally flawed, and apart from the grace and love and mercy of God, I'm lost. I'm irredeemable without the Redeemer, right? But the Redeemer calls me beloved, and he's invested in me, and he promises he's going to make my life fruitful and good as I do the work, the hard work of believing on him, not believing in myself, but believing on his name. And as I do that, confessing my sin, repenting, then he's going to do his part, which is resurrecting me to newness of life and causing fruitfulness to abound out of my life and through even my sin. He's going to use. He's going to make the wrath of man to praise him. That's what the scriptures say.
Amen.
That has been my experience. And I've watched the Lord liberate not only me, but my children from the bondage of performancism that had pervaded my household. Lest you wonder what happened to Ian. Ian has grown up to be a wonderful, godly young man. He and his wife have been married 8 years. They're expecting their first child in October. He's currently getting an MDiv from Knox Theological Seminary. He walks with God. He has his own story, and he has given me consent. When I was writing this, he asked me to write this story. And that's the reason my Divine Comedy came to be, is he said, Mom, please write this down. Please write this story. And through the course of writing the story, I realized together with him that just because I'd worked this out in my own heart and the Lord had shown me things, that it didn't mean that he knew what I had learned, and that the act of narrating back my own debacle, my own sin, what the Lord showed me, how he confronted the sin in my heart and showed me his grace, how I see and narrate the story in retrospect now. Boy, that was a gift. That was a gift to give to my son, because what was he doing? Simultaneously, he was taking responsibility for everything. He was the one who failed. He was the one who misconstrued his parents' intentions, and it was all his fault. You know, he was the loser. He was the screw up. He was the guy that got a 0, you see. He misunderstood everything about identity too. He was still attaching identity and performance, except he wasn't a can, he was a can't, you see.
Wow.
Two sides of the same coin. That is not his name. That's one thing he did along the way. And it was the adverse work in his life that the Lord brought to bear to get his attention and to draw him to grace. And the result was he's liberated. He's able to do what he was created to do, which incidentally is very academic. He's a book nerd. He loves school and learning, and he wants to be a preacher. So he's going to spend a lot of time in dusty, dry tomes, right? Education was really important for him, the academic kind, but it doesn't make him who he is. The love of Christ makes him who he is, his value in the eyes of God. So that was my Divine Comedy. And I had to go down to come up, right? And I have to remind myself of this. I'm grateful for opportunities like this one to rehearse this story out loud and to remember what the Lord showed me. I pray that I would never forget that my identity is never the work of my hands, that it is not created. I do not create my identity. I do not create myself. The Lord who made me, knows me, names me, and loves me, and I am secure with him. And that's what I want you listeners to hear. The Lord knows you. He made you. He calls you by name. You are his beloved, and he is invested in you. He's invested in your children. You have nothing to fear. And that liberates you to just do the the work of homeschooling.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.